So I'm here with the legend himself, the guy that made me get trapped in a car because his Tachi was so great. Danny, go ahead and introduce yourself to people.
So Danny Avila, most recent, second place San Diego Open, number 3 light heavyweight in America.
Woo, man. Danny, you've been in the game longer than me.
Yes.
What year did you start?
I started in October of 2016.
How old were you?
18.
18 years old. 18 years old. This is crazy.
As a heavyweight.
As a heavyweight.
Yeah.
As a heavyweight. What brought you into sumo?
I was stuck in my bed in October on YouTube, just following suggested video after video after video. And World's Greatest Sumo Wrestler popped up. And it was an Asashoru video with some like Braveheart music, like techno music on top of it. And so I watched it and I was like, damn, this fucking guy moves quick. So I Googled him and he was 6'2", 320. So I was like, I'm 6'2", 320. And so I Googled sumo and the first thing that popped up was USA Sumo. And at the time they were in Van Nuys, which is like half an hour from me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, fine, I got $10 on a Sunday. And so I drove up and I've been hooked ever since. I trained with Takeshi and Andrew.
Nice. What keeps you? Like you said, you're stuck, but what keeps you in it?
I've never been a martial artist. I never got to wrestle, never did karate. I was always a big kid. And so it was always like football, team sports, basketball. And what I love about team sports is the team. You like each other, you train with each other and this and that. But the sad part about team sports is it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, you're relying on the other people to win. And so with football, no matter how good I got, I had to rely on 10 other people. And so later in my football career, going into college and stuff, I was like, when I found sumo, I was like, oh, cool, I get all the benefits of a team sport, the training, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. But it was like, when it's game time, it's only on me. Mm. And I liked the risk aspect of like, I get all the benefits of a team, but it's on you.
Right.
And so that's why I stick with it. Plus, everybody's friendly. It's the carryover from any other sport is pretty quick. And so, like, I just loved it. I've never done martial arts, so it was like I was hooked immediately.
Well, you went to Japan. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about your experience training at Tasasago Heya?
Yes. So, one, Asashori is my favorite wrestler ever. And so finding out that I was going to the Heya that he was at, and then later in my career as a heavyweight, I was a big Asanoyama guy. So I was like, sick, I'm going to, like, where my heroes have trained. And so you guys talked me into going to Japan. I wasn't going to go because I couldn't afford it. But you guys talked me into going because you were like, it's going to be good. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I was like, yes. And no, it was life-changing. Being there with Kanishiki, being there with the guys, getting my ass whooped 2 days in a row and laying out on the floor of Japan because I was cramping and bruised up and cut up and doing all that. Like, I got to live the life that I thought I was going to live. Because I had an opportunity when I was 18. I don't talk about this. But I had an opportunity when I was 18 where I was going to go to Japan for 2 weeks with Yama. And that was right before I got diagnosed with cancer. And so it's always been a dream of mine that seems so far away. And when I finally got to do it and live it and die on the floor, I was like, this is what I could have been doing. And I'm like, I'm so glad that I got to do it with the friends that I got to see grow and surpass me and stuff. And so going with you guys, I'm getting emotional. Going with you guys was awesome. And it was cool.
What was the, so there was many highs, many lows at that, like I had highs of like, oh my God, I'm here. And then lows as, oh my God, I suck. And then highs again. So it was a weird roller coaster in the Heya. Can you speak about a little bit of your highs and lows inside of the Heya? I know afterwards you were laying down at a 7-Eleven parking lot, which at least you're in Japan, so it's super clean. But, you know, can't do that in the hood. You know what I'm saying?
The highs was the experience, 100%. Being there with you guys, seeing the pros, seeing their culture firsthand was the biggest thing. The lows were getting my ass whooped 2 days in a row and seeing, like, Edabar did really well. Eric, my biggest rival at the time, and still, was doing really well. Mark Jones was doing really well. And so it was like, I had just trained really good with them and, like, beat them up the day before. We were going back and forth. And so I was like, fuck, man. I was like, am I that far behind where I should be? Because I feel like I've always been right below the top. I've always been a bronze or silver medal guy, but I've never been able to get over the hump. And so being in Japan was like, am I actually just that good? And then I realized, you know, they're professionals. This is what they do.
Right.
And like, I had a conversation with Trent at the end of the 2018 Open. We were drunk in a parking lot. But he told me that, like, if you show up and you stay good long enough, your time will come. And San Diego this year made me realize that, like, I just need to be patient.
Right.
And so in Japan, coping with that, because I was in a real lull kind of right after Japan, right before Saudi. And so it was kind of like, am I good enough? Should I be doing it? I'm not as good as these guys. Is this a waste of my time? Have I wasted the last 8 years? And so the lows came afterwards, after the high and the adrenaline dump went down of like, what am I doing? What do I actually want? Am I fully committed? And so it was battling through that and then coming through it, realizing that, like, yes, I want to be a world champion.
Yes.
And the way to do that is to be an American champion.
Yes.
And the way to be an American champion is to keep showing up and to keep winning.
That's right.
And so that's my goal for the rest of this year.
Also, I think sometimes when we're training with like the same people, and even though it's like Eric's not in your club, he's all across the country, but nonetheless we're in this like pretty tight community. It ends up getting into a point where like it's a battle of styles a little bit, right? And so sometimes that's not quite the proper meter to see where we are, right? And then Eric, in particular, he was peaking in the Heya. He peaked in the Heya, and then we got to the tournament. He was a little off. He like blew his wad on the first one, and then came back in the team tournament, right? So it's all about like kind of managing that. And during the training with Takeshi, you were peaking, and then you're also like actively kind of cutting, managing your sodium, managing all of that. You're probably cramping before you cramp. So like the training was hard, but you can't judge yourself on that performance, right? And that wasn't a performance. That was just you grinding, right?
That's what it was. Jeez. What I tell everybody is that sumo is the only sport where everybody can do it. It's kind of like if you're a lifter and you're in the weightlifting space, it's kind of like CrossFit, where like you just do something that you're kind of good at and you scale yourself up. When I had started, I was a football guy, and so like all I did was football. And so Andrew and Takeshi developed my style from football, but I'd never done martial arts. So I was getting thrown around and stuff, and then throughout the course of my career dealing with injuries and setbacks and lack of training partners, and for a lot of my career, it was new people coming in. So like JJ came in, Christina came in, OC Sumo, Patrick Tavis was new. I remember Kellyanne Balls, #2 in the world. I remember her first practice. I remember Mariah Holmes' first practice. I remember all these people's first practice because I was there still learning at the time. And so like I was always surrounded by new people. And so I got to see the development of athletes. And I think sumo in America is the only sport where the development of athletes is quick, inexpensive, community-oriented, and like feasible. I don't want to down other sports, but other sports have a high monetary buy-in where you're paying $100, $200 a month just to show up once or twice a week. Sumo is just kind of like, if you've got a buddy that can meet 5 days a week, you guys meet 5 days a week. If you've got a club that meets 1 day a week for $10, you got a club that meets 1 day a week for $10. And so like the accessibility of sumo, I think the safety for youth athletes, because sumo teaches one, teamwork, respect, violence, controlled aggression, to an extent, mercy. And so it's like, if you're a kid and you're getting into a martial art, sumo teaches you everything. It's every martial art condensed into 15 seconds. And that's why I think I loved it as an adult. And so it's like, if you've got a kid that wants to do sumo, or a kid that wants to do martial arts, I would find a local sumo club. Because your local sumo club is going to be full of guys that do jiu-jitsu. It's going to be full of guys that play football. It's going to be full of guys that play boxing, full of guys that did judo, full of guys from every other martial art that tried everything, threw spaghetti at the wall, seeing what would stick. And what stuck was sumo, because they found every other sport in this one area. And so if you're a kid and you're trying to do sumo, I would do that. I wish I found sumo when I was like Jordan Sykes' age. Jordan Sykes started sumo at like 15 and doesn't have tattoos. I wish I found sumo when I was 15 and had no tattoos, because I probably would have pushed to go to Japan and do that kind of thing. But I found sumo when I was 18. I was tatted up. I was, stuck in this American mindset. But, I wish I found sumo 2 years earlier, because who knows what my life would have been. But sumo's become everything for me. I take hours off at work. I lose hours from family. I lose hours for myself, just because I'm like, I need to be around this sport because I love it so much. I love, there's been a lot of emotional days for me. And when I got diagnosed with cancer at the height of my heavyweight career, and I took a 2.5 year gap. I got to see everybody that I trained go past me and win national medals. And the crux of that was coming back at a lighter weight, building my way back up to where I'm at the level of my friends that had surpassed me before. And then I get to see at Worlds, I get to see the women that I helped train when they started. I get to see Kelly and Christina win bronze and silver medals. I get to cry in their arms seeing them win. I got to see Mariah Holmes go to Worlds. I got to see Justin Kizzer, me and him started at the same time, but I got to see him grow Texas Sumo to an exponential level. And so for me, it's the growth and the community that I've seen firsthand in the 8 years that I've been doing sumo. That I think everybody needs to be a part of it. And so if you've never heard of it and you think it's just fat guys bumping bellies, I would show up to a local tournament. I would show up to a demo. I'd show up to a practice and just talk to them, see their background, because I've met people from all around the world, and it's the most beautiful sport there is, especially at the amateur level. So that's Sumo in America.
Awesome.